Hey, welcome to the Straight Sports Podcast. We're your hosts, Joshua and
Tashar.
in this podcast, we'll give our opinion on our favorite sports, which are basketball, soccer, and wrestling. Also, in this episode, we'll start with soccer, move on to wrestling, and then we'll finish with basketball.
So let's dive into the topics. Topic 1. Newcastle United, who are currently 19th in the Premier League, have been taken over by an investment group called the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. The group has a net worth of about 320 billion. This now gives Newcastle the richest owners in the entire sport. What is your reaction to this? How will this impact other teams in the league?
I think they deserve it. They've been pretty bad. I wouldn't say bad. They haven't been relegated, but they haven't been good for a long time. They've been hovering around the relegation zone for a while. And I think they do deserve it. Like, the fans have stayed down. They've stuck with the team through these tough times. And I feel like them being, I just still can't get my head around them being, well, not being the richest club, but yeah, pretty much being the richest club in the world now because their owners are the richest. So, I mean, soon we might see, like, who knows, Neymar to Newcastle, top talent going to Newcastle now because they have the money to pay for these players. And I think it's kind of similar to like what Man City has been doing or what they have did because, Man City was once that club. Like, they weren't really that big. Rich owners came and invested in the club, and then now they have all the top players. So I think it's going to be something similar with that. So I think we may see something close to what Man City did and kind of close to what Chelsea's doing now. Sooner or later, probably like the next 2 or 3 seasons, Newcastle will be one of the top clubs in the Premier League, and maybe might even see them in Champions League going to Europe. So I like it, and I feel like they deserve it, and the fans should just savor this moment
Yeah.
and be thankful.
I agree on that. I mean, when I look at this, it seems as though this team has lots of money. Money brings players.
Yeah.
And if you want to be the best team first, the first thing you need is to have a lot of money. Second is you have to be a big market. In your opinion, do you think players would want to go play there?
They're in the England area, so of course that's always a big market. You're like not too far away from London, so I feel like it's a nice area. Like the fans are loyal, playing a pretty big stadium, and I feel like no matter where it is, if it's money, players will go. They don't really care about. Well, I mean, there is that like big market, small market thing, but it's not really like that much of a presence in soccer. But yeah, they'll get players. I feel like they'll attract like money talks. As people say.
Seems like an NBA, with small market versus big market, a player's willing to sacrifice money, one of those, top tier players to be like, I want to go win a championship or I want to play in a big market. But it
Yeah,
seems in soccer it's a little bit different. If you have the money, and Newcastle's a great area, a lot of top talent could be going there pretty soon.
yeah, I think so too. All right, on to topic 2, AEW. What would you say were the best and worst moments of the AEW Rampage on September 24th and the AEW Rampage on October 1st?
AEW Rampage from September 24, 2021. I think the best moment was seeing CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. That was one of my favorite moments. And I think it's because to watch CM Punk wrestle after 7 years is just a blessing in the skies. And we're seeing Powerhouse Hobbs, this young, emerging talent, showing what he got. And even though CM Punk won, it's like still he's getting young talent over in the sense
Yeah,
where people starting to believe, oh, he's a legit star, and that's what CM Punk has been doing. Even though he's defeated Darby Allin and Powerhouse Hobbs, it might look like he's bearing the stars. No, he's not bearing them. He's helping them because when you face a guy like CM Punk, you give him the run for his money. People are gonna look, wow, he's legit, and that's what I thought about that match. Another one I enjoyed watching, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express. I think it was a really good match seeing Adam Cole and the Jurassic Express. It was just a fun match. I just really enjoyed it. And bad moments, I had no bad moments for the September 24th AEW Rampage show. AEW Rampage October 1st, 2021. Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson, one of the members of the Young Bucks. It was one of the best matches ever. I think it was a really good match. Yes, I know I'm putting a high praise on a match. Like people might say, oh, I'm saying this is one of the best matches in the sense where there's been a lot of great matches. I just enjoyed it in that sense. When I mean best match, I just mean I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to watch. I like to watch young talent with veterans and see young talent emerge. And that's what AEW's been good at, letting young talent shine. No bad moments in this show.
So what were the best and worst moments of the AEW Dynamite matches on September 29th and on October 6th?
So the best moments on AEW September 29, 2021, I think Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy, and he wins. Just watching Adam Cole is just so much fun. He has a lot of support, even though he's a heel. I mean, the fans are gonna make him look like a baby face, but it was so fun to watch. Just young talent continuing to elevate. That's how the business works in wrestling. You have top stars, but eventually you gotta look for the future. And I see the future in AEW with all this young talent that they got. And then
Yeah,
another good moment was Sammy Guerrero. I hope I said his last name right. Defeated Miro to become the new TNT champion. I think this was a great moment seeing Sammy, his rise, getting the opportunity to shine, winning that championship. And Miro, who had a really dominant TNT championship run as a heel. But I think giving Sammy that championship made a lot of sense. And I'm excited to see future matches that he had. I think he already faced like Bobby Fish. So it's just exciting. One of the things I dislike was Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson versus Dante Martin and Matt Sydal. I hope it says his last name right. The reason I didn't like it so much is a lot of people are not liking this Cody Rhodes persona. He's a babyface for the company, but I think a lot of people are just like, you know what? We don't buy what you're selling in that sense because in the Grand Slam when he faced Malachi Black, Malachi Black is a heel. He got cheered like he was a babyface, and Cody Rhodes got booed basically out the building in a sense.
yeah,
The match was okay, just in the sense where I just feel like Cody Rhodes needs a heel turn. I understand, his position of the company. He's one of the top persons in the company. He brought this young talent in. He was one of the parts, with Tony Khan. So, but I just think it's time for him to turn. And this match was okay, but not my favorite moment. So AEW October 6th, 2021. One of my favorite moments, the start of the show, the Super Elites. You have Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks versus American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, Christian Cage, and the Jurassic Express. Great match, 4-on-4. We saw the Super Elites victorious. Very, very fun match. It was a really good way to start AEW. And another of my favorite moments, Casino Ladder match. We have Andrade El Idolo versus John Moxley versus Lance Archer versus Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy versus Pac versus the Joker, and the Joker came out to be Adam Page. Adam Page wins, and it makes a lot of sense. Now he's going to challenge for the AEW World Championship, going to face Kenny Omega in the future. Very fun match. I enjoyed it. And I have no bad moments for this show. I think AEW is just doing a really good job.
So next, Bryan Danielson says the AEW Grand Slam match is more important to him than the WrestleMania 30 main event. He says, "To me, this is the biggest match in my career. I think a lot of people would consider WrestleMania 30 my biggest moment, where I main evented WrestleMania. But the reality is, if I went out there and did not perform very well that day, maybe the moment wouldn't be remembered. But the ratings were not going to change the next day. It was not going to change WWE's business. If Kenny Omega and I go out there and we put on a match that people are raving about, and not only just us, but everyone on that show, it's the responsibility of every single person because the show is stacked. There are going to be a lot of people tuning in for the first time because it feels so big. There's this responsibility to really go out there and deliver a show that people should be watching on a weekly basis. This makes it feel bigger. The implications of doing well versus doing poorly are much greater. What were your reactions to this, and do you agree?"
So my reactions to this is I'm not gonna say I'm completely shocked. I would never think he would question his WrestleMania 30 main event because that was a really grand main event. Him facing Randy Orton and Batista.
Yeah,
He's entitled to his own opinion. But do I agree with him? So it's gonna like my response gonna sound a little weird. In a sense, I agree and disagree. So I'm gonna explain why. I do believe that the match, like let's say they had a poor main event at WrestleMania 30, it wasn't going to change the rating. The business was going to stay the business. WWE's fans would still be there. So I
yeah,
do agree on that part, but I personally believe the WrestleMania 30 match was more like I think it was more bigger in the sense we saw Daniel Bryan get this big push as a babyface. He faced three legends on the same night. He faced Triple H, a 14-time WWE World Champion. He faced Randy Orton, a 14-time WWE World Champion. He faced Batista, one of the top stars in WWE, and I think he's won the World Championships, And
yeah,
with the Kenny Omega one, yes, I think that match had a higher like magnitude in a sense where that match was a dream match. We wanted to see it. So it's hard for me, but I'm gonna personally say that WrestleMania 30 was a bigger deal because it was the start of the rise of Daniel Bryanson. Daniel Bryan, his name in WWE, and then Bryan Danielson, his name in AEW. The one thing I'll say is the Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. That match will bring ratings. So he has a point where it's gonna increase ratings, but I personally believe the main event of WrestleMania 30 was a bigger match for him, but I can't be mad at his opinion. I mean, that match, oh my goodness. Dream match delivered. and I can't wait to see more. He's entitled to his opinion, but I just respectfully disagree on that.
So, what are your thoughts on the new TBS Championship on AEW for the women's?
Excited.
Mm,
The opportunity to just see, women's compete in wrestling. I know back then it didn't seem, women's wrestling was still great, but it seems like now there's a more emphasis on it. We get to see it more, and I love it. It's just so much fun
yeah,
to watch. Just these women, they're so talented, and there's no, disparity. We women's and men's are equal when it comes to wrestling. They show it in talent. And sometimes
hmm,
people could say women's have outperformed men's. It goes both ways, but I think it's even
yeah,
completely. So just having a new championship, which means more women's gets to compete. Not now they don't only have one championship, which is the singles championship of the AEW Women's Championship, which Dr. Britt Baker has right now. But now adding this TBS, we can see a new star, get a title and get a run, and it's more fun. I think the more titles, the more like it's more cool. I think it's just like we get to
yeah.
see more of these women's. And if I was gonna predict who's gonna win this championship, I'm going Ruby Soho.
So, switching to WWE, what are your thoughts on the Extreme Rules matches, and what would you think the best and worst matches are, and what would you rate each match?
Going through each match, we'll start off with Carmella versus Liv Morgan. I give this, if I was gonna give out of 10, I'll give it like an 8. I think it was a great match, just to see Liv Morgan, a rising star. The fans are, behind her. We got to see her versus Carmella, and she got her first match on a pay-per-view as a singles competitor. So it was a big deal for her, and she won the match. Really fun. Fans are behind her, and I can't wait to see more of Liv Morgan. So I say 8 out of 10. The New Day versus Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos. I thought it was a good match. It was an entertaining match. We get to see the reunion of the New Day. It's so fun to see the reunion. I would say I give it a 7 out of 10. The SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos versus the Street Profits. I would say I give it an 8 out of 10 as well. I think they won the match. Basically, clearly, there was really not too much interference or not really at all. So it was surprising. They are heels. It seemed maybe interference, but I think it was a good match. Usos had to win. It just made the most sense. They are part of the bloodline. The bloodline needs all the gold. So, 7 out of 10 seems reasonable, but fun match. The Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss. I think I give it a 6. I think the match was okay. I wouldn't say this was my favorite match, but I enjoyed it. Why? Because the story, it was something new. We got something. We get to see
Mm,
Charlotte versus Alexa Bliss. A lot of people wanted to see it for a long time. It kind of, in a sense, it was a dream match for me as well, because I don't think I've ever seen it, the match. I don't know if they ever like wrestle single one-on-one. I'm not too sure. But it was a really good match. Charlotte Flair winning and Alexa Bliss loses. It seems like this persona that she's been having since The Fiend left, when she teamed up with The Fiend, having that kind of Fiend persona is kind of going away. Maybe it's a change, and we get to see a new Alexa Bliss or the old Alexa Bliss come back. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen next. The United States Championship, Damian Priest versus Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy. I give it an 8 out of 10. Great match. Get to see Jeff Hardy. A lot of things going on social media. He was getting disrespected because he was competing for a 24/7 championship. And, not to disrespect anybody who competes for a 24/7 championship, right? But he's a legend and he needs to be treated like, and we get to see him in a United States Championship match. But Damian Priest winning made the most sense. He's a rising young star, and it seems they have to, continue to let him win and show that he's a top star in WWE. The SmackDown Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Blair. My thought was that it was going to either, Becky Lynch was going to win by, a cheating tactic, or Sasha Banks was going to come back and interfere. And that's what happened. Sasha Banks
yeah,
came back and interfered. But if I was going to give it a rating, I think I'll give it like 8 out of 10. We get to see Becky Lynch, in a longer match. It was criticized for the 20 to 26 seconds of the match they had previously. The match was longer. It was fun. We got to see Becky Lynch still has, a lot to show. And it's like a really great story, you know what I'm saying? Because she left the company, she had a kid, and she came back and she's better than ever. So it was really cool to see that. It's like the story, like, wow, anybody can do it.
yeah,
A mother has a kid and wrestles, it's not impossible. So it's really inspiration to all the people out there and all the females.
yeah,
I think that match was 7 or 8 out of 10. The Universal Championship, the last match of Extreme, Roman Reigns versus the Demon Phil Balor, 10 out of 10. This was a really great match. The ending was not the best in a sense, because he was about to go for the coup de grace, and then something happened with the ropes, and they kind of like fell down, and he fell, and then Roman Reigns hit the spear. So maybe the ending was the best, but in general, I'm not going to lower my ratings because of just that one instance. But this match delivered. Really great match, but as expected, the head of the table wins. Um, it was just a fun match, and I think I made 5 predictions. I believe I said, Charlotte Flair was gonna win. I did say Damian Priest was gonna win.
yeah,
I thought, Becky Lynch was gonna retain via disqualification. Roman Reigns was gonna win. Like, all these match is Liv Morgan, so I think I got it all. But then they added a new match towards the end with the the New Day versus Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos. But great pay per view. If I was gonna give it an overall rating, I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
So what would you say the best moments of SmackDown on September 24th were, and on October 1st?
Yeah, so the best moment on SmackDown September 24, 2021 is Roman Reigns versus Montez Ford, the main event. We wouldn't expect to see this because Montez Ford is part of the Street Prop. He's part of a tag team. So we never really get to see him as a singles competitor. So it was really cool to see him with Roman Reigns. And it was cool how it got there because he basically called out Roman Reigns, the Usos. He called them bloodline beep. He said a curse word, so I'll keep it PG. But and he got Roman Reigns pissed. He's like, give me a match. Get me a match with Montez Ford. He got the match. He hit the guillotine and he beat him. And then at the end of the match, you see the demon come, as well. This was before Extreme Rules. And also, I enjoyed Liv Morgan versus Alina Vega. It was a really fun match. Like get to see Liv Morgan, but Liv Morgan did lose. Zelina Vega finally got a win. I know she hasn't won in a long time. Maybe it's been over a year. After the
Yeah.
situation where her match got cut on September 10th, with the situation that she had with her family member, I believe it was her father who passed away during the 9/11. So it was very, a tragic incident. Wish she got that match. She deserves that spotlight, especially in New York, MSG. But to see her win, I think is good. I think she's a really rising young star, and she could be a big WWE superstar. She knows how to talk promos. She's good on the mic, and she got really good wrestling skills that I think is underrated. One of
Hmm.
the bad moments is Nikki versus Natalia. Nikki and Rhea Ripley are the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, but we're seeing them face Nikki versus Tamina. It's happening a lot. Like it's like this repetition. Like I enjoy the matches, right? But at sometimes
Yeah.
we are entertained by new things and we're seeing the same things. It's like it's nothing new, like we're not seeing Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley versus, let's say, Tegan Knox and Shotzi, like something new and fresh. But Natalia and Tamina are legends, and Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley are young rising stars. So still a good match, but it's just the repetition. SmackDown October 1st, 2021. I like the main event, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Blair. We were supposed to get that at SummerSlam due to the fact that Sasha Banks wasn't cleared. She couldn't come, and we got that main event. But it ended, Becky Lynch had some interference. Sasha Banks won. And then the way it ended, Charlotte Flair attacking Bianca and Sasha at the end of the match with a kick to the face for both of them with their high heels. So it was very interesting. And we see all four women. We see the Raw Women's Champions on SmackDown. You see Becky Lynch, the SmackDown Women's Champion, on SmackDown. And right now, Crown Jewel is a triple threat between Becky Lynch, Bianca Blair, and Sasha Banks, but it could be a fatal four-way for all the gold. That'd be pretty cool. That would be one of
Yeah.
the biggest matches. Also, another one, the Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, their segment. Brock Lesnar comes out, he throws the suplex on Roman, and then he does it to the Usos, and he does an F5 to both of them. So it was a really good encounter. And also, the Bloodline segment with Paul Heyman, where Roman Reigns basically, when Brock Lesnar had this little promo, and Brock Lesnar doesn't do that many promos, so it's kind of cool to see him on the mic. He's like, oh, thanks to Paul Heyman, I'm a free agent. I can do whatever I want. Basically, that's what he said. And Roman Reigns is like, why my cousin's not drafted to SmackDown, because it is the draft, and he wants, the Usos to be drafted. And then Paul Heyman's like, I'm the wise man. And he just yelled, it's like, I say when you're the wise man. He says something like that, and like he raised his voice, and it's like, Paul,
Hmm.
and you see Paul Heyman like literally crying, and I think it's becoming like a meme. I got to give the acting skills is phenomenal with these guys. And it's like he literally crying, which I did not see coming, and he was like shook in fear, and that makes it look, because Roman Reigns is that character. He puts fear into you. But I know there
Yeah.
was memes going around about that. But it was really cool. Paul Heyman's acting skills are off the roost, man, and great segment. But one of the things I didn't like, the Liv Morgan versus Carmella, because the match, it wasn't really a match. We just saw, Carmella's like, she puts this little mask on and people are laughing because, it was like, maybe it didn't look as well, right? Because he's like, it's just mask is covering her whole face, and Liv Morgan's kind of laughing, and then Carmella just attacks her, and that's it. We didn't really get to see a match, which, this young talent, Liv
Yeah.
Morgan, if you want to continue to push her, I want to see her like an actual match. It wasn't really an actual match. So that's why. But Liv Morgan will get her moments, but in a sense that it wasn't an actual match.
So what would you say the best and worst moments of for Raw on September 27th and on October 4th?
So I'd say the best moment for Raw September 27, 2021 is Big E versus Bobby Lashley and a steel cage match. Seeing Big E defending his championship, he was, being called out for, potentially winning, cashing his money in the bank where Bobby Lashley was hurt. So getting to see Big E, one-on-one, no interference. Yet the Hurt Business interfered a little, then the New Day came, and then they got banned from the match. They couldn't stay there anymore. And we got to see Big E and Bobby Lee just go at it. It was a really fun match. Big E wins as expected, just continuing to put his rise as a face of the company. Bobby did a great job as a champion. I just think it's Big E's time now. He's a young and, he really can be a big star in this company. Um, Also, the Hurt Business is back. Like, they broke up, and a lot of people question it's like, well, why did they break up? And I was the same. I was like, man, why they broke this? This is a dominant faction, and we see them come back together. That was exciting, and I'm really excited to see the Hurt Business back. We got the matches. Like, we could see the Hurt Business versus the Bloodline versus the New Day. It would be really fun. One of the worst matches, AJ Styles versus Riddle. And I think it's because it's like, is that repetition, with Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASA's versus Tamina and Natalia, is that repetition? So we're seeing this repetition of AJ Styles, Omos, Randy, and Riddle. They're having like sometimes it's Randy versus AJ, then it's like Riddle versus AJ, and AJ's a phenomenal star. And so is Riddle. I just think it's that repetition. We need something new. We're getting same matchup, but it seems like they're gonna have this match at Crown Jewel. So I'm assuming it would end there. They're really good at what they do, but at times, when it comes repetitive, we want something fresh, and we've seen it a lot already. That would be one of, I think, the worst moments. So Raw, October 4th, 2021, I think one of the best moments was the opening segment. You have Becky Lynch, Bianca Blair, and Charlotte Flair, all three in the ring at the same time with their segment. Becky Lynch kind of talks into a match where we could see Bianca versus Charlotte Flair. I don't think we ever seen it before. And the match became official with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, who made the match. That comes to the main event, how great the main event was. And then Bianca Blair's about to be Charlotte Flair, who is the Raw Women's Champion. And she's about to pin her, and then Becky Lynch interferes and causes the match to end it in a disqualification. She attacks Bianca Blair, and then Sasha Banks comes, which is unexpected, and she came and attacked Becky and Bianca. Charlotte Flair was already, I think, on down outside on the ring, and then she's standing tall, so it made it seem like, oh, maybe a fatal four-way, just like kind of teasing towards that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of the weak moments again, we saw Rhea and Nikki versus Natalya and Tamina. I believe it was for the WWE Women's Championship, and Rhea and Nikki won. Now is the final time that will happen since they broke up Tamina and Natalya. Now Tamina's on Raw and Natalya's on SmackDown. But the worst one because, it was fun to see, but is that repetition. So maybe now something new will come. But they're, like I said, phenomenal wrestling, no disrespect. They just repetition is a thing. If we're seeing the same match for like 8 weeks, we're not, it's not gonna be as, like it's gonna catch us to watch it continuously.
Yeah.
But still a great match, but wasn't my favorite moment.
The WWE Draft happened. So what was your reaction to it?
It's about time. We
Mm.
needed this with Raw and SmackDown. As I say, SmackDown is the A show and Raw is the B show, and that draft, made it interesting. I was just excited just to see a new change up, new stars going somewhere, and just cool to see a new change of scenery, potential matches now with the changes. So I'm just happy, and I just feel like it was about time they needed to do it.
So what would you say was the biggest shocker in the draft?
I think it was Charlotte Flair going to SmackDown. I did not see that coming. When they did the draft, as expected, Roman Reigns was the number one pick for SmackDown. Then we have Charlotte Flair going to SmackDown. Why was it shocking? Because she's the Raw Women's Champion. She's gonna be the Raw Women's
Yeah.
Champion on SmackDown, which doesn't seem right because I technically do based on brand. Raw's with Raw, SmackDown's with SmackDown. And then Bianca Blair going to Raw, which I didn't see coming too because I thought she would continue to feud with Becky Lynch on SmackDown. So that was the biggest shocker to me. I did not see it coming. What I thought was going to happen was Charlotte Flair was going to stay put on Raw. Sasha Banks, I thought, was going to go to Raw. Becky Lynch, I thought, was going to stay on SmackDown with Bianca. But what happened? The opposite happened completely. Becky and Bianca are on Raw, and Charlotte and Sasha are on SmackDown. But I think what the WWE is going to do, they're going to do this title exchange. They're going to have Charlotte and Becky change their titles. So Charlotte's going to be the SmackDown Women's Champion, and Becky's going to be
Yeah.
the Raw Women's Champion. That's what it looks like is going to happen. This happened before. I believe it was last year with the Street Profits and the New Day. They switched brand. The Street Profits went to SmackDown, so they were the Raw champions, and the New Day went to Raw. And they were the SmackDown champions, so they switched championship belts. The New Day became the Raw champions, and the Street Profits became the SmackDown champions. So tag teams. So that was, I think, shocking. I didn't see it coming, but it was interesting. It really caught me off guard. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah. Who do you think the biggest steal of the draft was?
I'm going to have to say Liv Morgan. I think it's because she wasn't even drafted. So it's like, when you watch the NBA, there's these like free agents. So in a sense, that's how
Yeah.
she was drafted. Like she wasn't even part of the draft, which I felt like was disrespectful in a sense because like she is Liv Morgan. We're all behind her. I feel like it was just surprising to not see her get drafted. But I think that puts a chip on her shoulder. Like people would look at it like, oh, she can prove the world wrong. Like, oh, you didn't want to draft me? It's a steal pickup. Like I would say the steal of the draft. Fans are behind her. She's really, really talented. And I think
Yeah.
She deserves more respect, and I think she has a chip on her shoulder, and she's gonna prove the world why she's a special talent. I believe she's gonna win a women's championship very soon.
Who do you think the biggest pickup was for each show?
For SmackDown, I think a lot of people would say this is the more obvious choice. This is Roman Reigns. He's the head of the table. As expected, he was gonna be on SmackDown. But I think if I wasn't gonna pick the most obvious choice, I think Drew McIntyre's a very pickup. This change of scenery now, he's going to SmackDown. It's pretty interesting. He's been dominating Raw for a long time. Pandemic era, he was kind of the driving force on Raw for, getting through the pandemic era with no fans. He did a great job. So seeing him, that's a really
Yeah.
big pickup for SmackDown. You get to see this Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre match again, potentially. It'll be fun. And for Raw, the biggest pickup, Bianca Blair. She's a top star. A lot of people were upset with the way she lost the championship. She main evented WrestleMania with Sasha Banks. She beat arguably one of the best superstars. I believe Sasha Banks is the best currently. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion. But that's another conversation for another day. Uh, but I think that's the biggest pickup. Now she's on Raw as a change of scenery. And now I feel like Raw got this big star, which I think they had a lot of talent, but this like big name star, Bianca is a big name star, and she's proven it.
Who do you think is the biggest winner and biggest loser?
I'm gonna say the biggest winner is young talent because a lot of young talent was drafted to Raw and SmackDown from
Yeah.
NXT. You saw Austin Theories on Raw. We get to see more talent on SmackDown. We see Ricochet, who I think was from Raw, got drafted to SmackDown. We got to see Tony Storm, who was competing in SmackDown, but not to now she's drafted on SmackDown. Aaliyah, competing on Dark Match. So a lot of just in general young talent. We get to see some from NXT move, to Raw and SmackDown, which is good. It makes it seem like WWE is going in that direction. Let's invest in our young talent. We need a star. It's best to do it, and I really like it. So I think that would be the biggest one, just in general, just young talent. It's a day to celebrate young talent. The biggest
Mm.
loser, I think, is a New Day because I thought when Biggie won the WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley, oh, Biggie's going to Raw, so it makes it seem like, ooh, like the New Day reunion, they're back together. They split them up again, so it's pretty sad for a lot of people. Maybe they want Biggie to continue to strive as a singles competitor, but I definitely think a lot of people wanted them together. They didn't have to like always get in the ring together, but I think they should have been on the same brand. So I think that's the biggest loser, just the New Day in general. So yeah,
Okay. Which star do you think has the most pressure on them?
good question. I'm gonna say Bianca Belair, and I think it's because
Mm.
she's coming. She lost that championship, and a lot of people are like, they didn't like the way she lost it. And it make it seem like, oh, is WWE bearing her now? Is she not the top one? So it seems like, oh, now she's
Yeah.
going to Raw, new change of senior with Becky Lynch. If she wins the championship, she's back on the top. So I feel like the pressure is like right now she's not like she's on the top. She's always gonna be in the main events and 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 be part of the show. She has a big crowd, but a lot of fans support her. But I think the pressure in the sense where she's not the champion right now, and she got to get it back. And right now the champion is Becky Lynch, one of the four horsewomen, one of the women who since WrestleMania 35, she's always had a title on her.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. And so I would say Bianca Blair.
So who do you think is the most overrated and underrated WWE superstar right now?
So underrated is Liv Morgan, and I think it's because Liv Morgan to me is underappreciated and doesn't get enough respect on her name. The people believe in her. She's a top talent. We want to see her continuing to be that top talent. And sometimes she's on TV, sometimes she's not. That's how it looked like. And she deserves the spotlight. She's so hardworking. She's so talented. I think it just gets we overlook it. And I think she's gonna be I can envision her as a Raw Women's Champion, as a SmackDown Women's Champion. I just think it's time to just put respect on her name. She's just so talented, and I hope soon she'll get that respect. The overrated one is it's a really tough question. Like, I don't know how to say who is specifically overrated because every star. You know what? I'm gonna say for right now, I don't have an answer on who's overrated. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the first time I'm left
Mm.
speechless with a question. To the people who listen to this podcast, I'm gonna get back on this question. This will be a future topic when I can really think about it. Who is the most overrated? Because this is very hard. It's like it's just hard to say. Like to me, overrated in the sense would be like the WWE is pushing this star continuously and nobody's believing in it. That's what to me overrated would look like. So for right now, I'm gonna say I don't have an
Yeah.
answer, but I will get one very soon.
All right. So who do you think won the draft, Raw or SmackDown? And do you feel the rosters are balanced?
Raw is finally the biggest winners. SmackDown looks completely different. They lost a lot of stars. Raw got Biggie, Becky, Bianca Blair. Edge, Seth Rollins. That's a lot of star power. Bobby Lashley, the Hurt Business, the Street Profits, so much. And this is all from SmackDown. So Raw has definitely got Apollo Crews and Commander Cease, the Mysterio family. Everybody's just really good. The Raw roster is really good. So I say Raw won it. SmackDown is still fine. They got Roman Reigns. It seems like they got more bigger names. Like Roman Reigns, the best in the company. Sasha Banks, people argue best female superstar in the company. Then you got Charlotte Flair, 3 big name stars. You got a lot of young talent over there. Aaliyah, Tony Storm, Naomi's still there. You got the
Yeah.
Usos. We got the New Days there. That's pretty good. But I say Raw won it. I wouldn't say by a landslide, but they won pretty well.
So, what are your predictions for the Queen's Crowns match and the King of the Ring match?
Queen Crown match, I'm going to say Liv Morgan wins. I think it's her moment. Like, this is the moment where the WWE has a chance to put her as a top face. People believe in her. We want to see her win it. So I'm going to say Liv Morgan wins. I think this is just her moment. She deserves it the most. She's worked so hard. And this is finally where the hard work pays off. So I think she wins the Queen Crown tournament. For the King of the Ring, I'm going to go with Xavier Wood, another person who just deserves it. We've seen his run as a tag team. We haven't got to see the single competitor of Xavier Wood. We get a chance to see it. It just makes a lot of sense. Give us Xavier Wood's win. So let's go on to the last topic. Topic 4, NBA Free Agency Part 3. Today we will be discussing Part 3 of our 3-part topic in which we grade things done by teams in free agency, A through F. Today we will cover teams between the 5th and the 1st seed. Let's start off with the East. Number 5, Atlanta Hawks.
I give them an A. I really like what they did. They extended Trae Young, extended John Collins, they re-signed Lou Will, and most of their core role players. They picked up Gorgie Dang, who I think is a very versatile big man. I like that move. They drafted Sharif Cooper, Jalen Johnson, 2 good players who I think will be on the bench and really just add to the depth. And they didn't lose anyone significant, so I feel like they had one of the better free agency periods. A for me.
I agree. I gave the same grade, A. I mean, they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. It doesn't seem they could what could they add? Their team is legit. If you told me before the season started that the Atlanta Hawks was being the Eastern Conference Finals, I might have been thinking you might not know what you'd be talking about. Not in a
Same.
rude sense, but I would just think that. I mean, I think you agree on that too, right?
Yeah.
But they proved everybody wrong, and I'm happy they proved I thought the Knicks were going to win. I also was rooting for the Knicks because come on, they're the Knicks. But the Hawks, Trae Young destroyed the Knicks, man. Destroyed the Knicks. Like Knicks
Yeah.
fans, he became a villain, and he became a villain. Why? Because he's nice. That's just why he became a villain.
Yeah.
Broke the heart of Knicks fans. So re-signing John Collins, big move. Lou Williams is back. Trae Young is extended. That was the biggest one. I think the 2 biggest moments were extending Trae Young and John Collins. Re-signing John Collins and extending Trae Young's contract. So, and hey, they're on the rise. They're a young team on the rise. Number 4, the New York Knicks.
I gave them a B plus.
Oh,
They re-signed D
interesting.
Rose, which I really like. They did sign Evan Fournier. They did get Kemba Walker after the OKC buyout. They drafted Quentin Grimes, and I believe they also re-signed Nerlens Noel, which I do like. I feel like they got better. They added some scoring, and yeah, I like the moves. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, I might have to bump it to an A because now I'm hearing these moves on paper. Like it's pretty good. I feel like they got better, and I like to see where this team is at. I feel like it's going upward.
So I was about to disagree with you because I gave them A, but since you changed your
Yeah,
grade, we got the same grade now. I gave them an A. I just think they got Kemba Walker for a steal. Kemba Walker has a chip
yeah,
on his shoulder. People are saying, "Oh, injury prone. He's not that good anymore." I think I've heard that kind of notion, "Oh, he's just I feel like he's being underappreciated now." Kemba Walker's gonna have a breakout season. Watch out. He got a chip on his
yeah.
shoulder.
I
The
agree.
Celtics literally traded him to OKC. That hurts. He gonna drop 40 on the Celtics. And then they added Evan Fournier. I liked it. I think what the Knicks had, they improved. Yeah, people might see, oh, this might
Yeah, I
not be
agree.
the to people's eye. They didn't get Kevin Durant. They did the best they could. They didn't go and wait. Let's get the big fish. They just got what was available. Kemba Walker is an all-star. He will bring that offensive that I think the Knicks last year was a Julius Randle, Derrick Rose, save us. This year seems like Kemba
Yeah,
Walker, Evan Ford. We got more offense. They're already defensively great. They lost Reggie Bullock. Elfrid Payne wasn't the best fit for the Knicks. They
I
extended
agree.
Julius Randle. He's going to continue to improve. Derrick Rose is back. Nerlens Noel, Alex Berg, Taj Gibson. They also added a shooting guard, Quentin Grimes. Hope I said his name right. Great offseason for the Knicks, and they're going to continue to get better. I expect them to be in the playoffs again. Milwaukee Bucks, 3rd seed.
I'll give them a D.
Whoa. Okay, interesting. I'll let you talk.
Now I know like how hard it is for like teams to repeat because they lost PJ Tucker, who was a key piece to them winning the ring.
I'm still wondering why. Like, is it because they didn't want him or
Who
like he
knows?
just left? I'm
They
interested
lost
on that.
Brent Forbes, sharpshooter.
Yeah, but he went back to San
They
Antonio.
did resign Bobby Portis, which I get.
That was a good move though. That was re-signing him.
Yeah, they got George Hill and Semi Ojale, but I don't think they got better. In fact, I think they actually got way worse because PJ Tucker was a key piece to the team, and you lose that. I mean, if you win a ring, I mean, I'd pay him whatever because he's literally the glue that held the team together on the defensive end. So I just
Glue
find it kind
guy.
of weird that they let him go. Maybe it was a money. Maybe he just wanted to leave. He got his ring. Let me just go. Chill in Miami. Who knows? But
Hey, come on, South Beach.
yeah, I feel like they had a pretty bad free agency, but they won a ring, so that's the only thing that stopped me from giving it an F, pretty much. But yeah,
So I guess I was a little more. I gave them a little higher grade than you. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie, I was a little shocked with a D. I thought maybe a B or C was a reasonable range, but I'm not here to. I think you made good points. You might be
yeah, yeah,
convincing me to go there, but I'm gonna stick with a B plus, and I think it's because the core is still there: Giannis, Chris, and Drew. But I think I like the Bobby Portis addition. Rodney Hood is a great addition.
yeah.
George, actually, I'm about to do what you did with the Knicks. I'm about to go back. I'm gonna bring them to a D now. I'm looking at it on paper and
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
They
It's
lost
not it's
PJ
not
Tucker. That's a
popping
big
out. Yeah,
loss. They lost Brent Forbes. I think that's a big. He was a sharpshooter. If you look at their additions, Bobby Porter is a big addition, but they did resign Tantis Antetokounmpo. I like that. George Hill is back. I don't know, like he's gonna be the backup. He's okay. Grayson Allen. I mean, he's a young star.
yeah,
Rodney Hood. I know he's coming off an injury, I believe, or he was injured previously. Sammy Ojo, like it doesn't seem like you look at their roster. You're right, they got worse. I don't think they got any better, but I do believe Milwaukee Bucks will still be like contenders. But I don't see them winning the championship. That's just respectfully. I mean, prove me wrong again, Giannis. I mean, you've done it
yeah.
already once, but they definitely got worse. So I went from a B plus. I'm changing to D. You convinced me. I'm giving them a
Mm.
D. Number two, the Brooklyn Nets.
I gave them a C plus.
Oh, okay.
They signed James Jones, Patty Mills, DeAndre Bembry. They lost Dinwiddie, who didn't really play because he was hurt. They lost Jeff Green, who was a key piece. They lost Shamit.
Via trade, yeah.
They drafted Cam Thomas, so I think he's a good scorer, and they maybe get him at Aldridge. I don't know what he'll offer the team, but I feel like it wasn't that great of an offseason. They did what they could, try to move around some players, but I feel like it's just a solid C plus for me.
I gave them an A plus. Uh,
Wow,
I think it's because they did the biggest thing, which was to extend Kevin Durant. I was kind of hoping that small hope
that's
in me.
true.
Hey, Kevin Durant, you coming to MSG? He dubbed it. He signed a 4-year deal with the Nets, man.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a little disappointed. I know. Shout out to Danny. I hope you're having a good day. I know you're not happy with that, but they got Patty Mills. I think that's a 6-man addition. That's a really big pickup. He was either going to the Lakers or Nets, and he picked the Nets. I like James Johnson pickup. I know they lost Jeff Green, but they added Paul Millsap. They got LaMarcus Aldridge back. Happy to see him playing basketball again. That he didn't have to retire on those terms. He deserves a better way to end his career on his terms. I just like Bruce Brown is back. Blake Griffin. I just like the pickups. I think they're really good. I know DeAndre Jordan is gone. A lot of people were saying about the sense that he was overpaid, but DeAndre Jordan does have a chip on his shoulder. Now he's in LA, so that's an interesting dynamic. But DeAndre Jordan was a good he was he was that locker room leader. Um, but I gave them the A plus. I just think they're the best team in the East, and I like the pickups. I think they got a lot of star power. They got Durant, Harden's there. They got Kyrie. I know his status is up in airs, and we'll talk about that in a future episode. But they got the talent. As long as everybody's healthy, I don't see anybody beating the Nets in the East. Number one, the Philadelphia 76ers. This will be an interesting one.
I give them a straight F. F for me. Horrible, trash off season.
Oh my
Signed Drummond, no reason. Re-signed Danny Green. I mean, okay. I've never been really impressed with Danny Green.
We got a
Lost Dwight and George Hill.
violation of Philly
They
out
did
here.
nothing. They literally did nothing.
You know?
Waste of an all season, in my opinion. And if I'm Joel Embiid, I'm counting down the years till my contract is over because this team is literally stagnating. And on top of that, with the Ben Simmons saga, like, I mean, come on now, like, what can I really say? Like,
That's like the icing on the cake.
if I go F minus, matter of fact, if I go a E, even lower than F, I give him an E because
You could give
this
them a
this team
Z.
is, yeah, a Z as far down I can go because this is horrible. Arguably the worst offseason I've seen in the last 5+ years.
Oh, sh-
That's how bad it was.
oh, sh-
And Ben Simmons just puts the bow on top of the present, the icing on the cake. Horrible. and that's all I have to say for this. And
Oh
I'm just trying to
man.
restrain myself and not say anything crazy, but yeah, horrible, straight F. I mean E or Z, whatever. Horrible.
You know what's crazy? I was about to give them a C, right? And I
Really?
think it was because they did re-sign Joel Embiid, right?
Yeah.
I like they got Danny Green back, but you after the rant you just went on Philly, I'm going with an F too because
Yeah,
I didn't know. I
exactly.
felt like I gave them a C because if you look at their team, if Ben Simmons is committed, they have a good team, so you could
Yeah,
give
the
them a
team
C,
is
right?
the team is
He's
decent.
not committed. They
Yeah,
still got like if you look at their lineup, let's say Ben Simmons came back, Ben, Danny Green, Seth Curry's there, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris. They got Drummond, which to me was the worst offseason move of like
agreed.
ever. How could you sign Andre Drummond? And how did Andre Drummond agree to this? He signed a minimum. He said, I'm not going to sign a minimum. He left the Lakers. So join Philly. He's going to be a backup center. And he had a
Yeah,
great preseason. He's been
he
very
did.
dominant. But it just didn't make sense for Andre. For Philly, that's a steal, right? So in a sense,
Yeah,
for okay, so I guess when I'm saying it's a bad pickup for Andre Drummond, but it's a good move for Philly
yeah,
because he's a really good backup center, right?
yeah,
He could be, he's been a starter in the league. He's been an all star.
yeah,
So that's why I gave it a C. But I think I'm gonna give you F because it's kind of incomplete. So that's why I guess I'll say that. It's like so I'll change from C to F because of the rant you went. I mean, if you look at them, because Ben Simmons, we can just say assuming he's not coming back. They added
yeah,
Andre Drummond. Okay, I guess they replaced him with Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard was great for him. Andre Drummond would be great too. I don't know if you say that it's even right there. They added Nang. I hope I said his name right. They re-signed Danny Green,
yeah.
great defensive player. Portmont, hope I said his name right. He's back. Extended Joe Embiid, which I think was their biggest acquisition, especially all the
I agree.
drama that's been going around. It's hard because at the end of the day, they're incomplete. Ben Simmons there, he's unhappy. If you look at their team, I don't want to sound rude on this, but I'd be shocked if they won a championship. I just don't see
I
it.
agree.
Even with Ben Simmons, I mean, they're just not. They're not better than Brooklyn. They're not better than Milwaukee. They're not better than Miami. They're not better than Boston.
Mm,
And there's other teams that could give them a run for their money. I put them in that fifth seat if Ben Simmons can. But if Ben Simmons is not there, eventually you got to make a trade. But we got to see who they get back. But now let's say
yeah,
Dame maxed out and they get Dame. That's a whole different story. We're changing it
yeah.
to
I
an
agree.
A. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's Embiid, Harris right now, the big two. Ben Simmons is gone. I mean, Ben Simmons, he has a chip on his shoulder. I know he has a lot to prove, wherever he ends up playing. But right now, I mean, apologize, but do we even consider Ben Simmons a star? That's a big if now.
mm,
But
I don't. But
horrible
yeah,
offseason. You convinced me. A straight up F. We could give them that Z,
yep,
Infinity Z, whatever you want to give them, Zaka Z,
yeah.
whatever you want to say. It was a bad offseason.
Agreed.
I feel bad for Philly fans. This is I just hope Embiid is dominant. I do like the re-signing of Embiid. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
And sorry, Philly, but no championships. So let's move on to the West. The number 5 Dallas Mavericks. They did re-sign, extended Luka to that Supermax 5-year 207. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, they
yeah,
got Reggie Bullock. I did like that pickup. They got, Moses Brown. They got guard slash forward Sterling Brown. They got head coach Jason Kidd. I like the pickup, but they did lose Rick Carlisle, who is a championship coach. They also re-signed Tim Hardaway Jr. and center Boban Marjanovic, fan favorite. He's really good too. They lost Josh Richardson, forward Nicola Melli, head coach Rick Carlisle, and they also JJ Redick also is gone because he has officially retired, which is
yeah.
we'll talk about that in a future episode. But I give them I mean, if you look at, did they really get back? Could you really say Dallas could get out the first round? No, you really can't. I mean, I think they get to the first round, they get out again. They didn't make any that much improvement. I think it just really comes down to the way Porzingis plays next year. If you could play better, I mean, they'll be a real
Yeah,
threat, but it depends on Porzingis. Luka is going to be Luka. I mean, he's already so dominant. If he gets any better, I mean, he's going to scary hours in the league. He's going to be one of the best. I think he's going to be the best player in the league very, very soon.
yeah.
He's going to have that title, but it depends on Porzingis. I don't think they got any better. So I just don't think it's a great offseason for them to build around Luka. Like, they have to build championship. It doesn't seem like they even got to that direction.
So I'd say I give them a C,
Mm.
maybe D minus. Like they haven't got better, like you said. Some moves I did like. I did like them getting Frank Ntilikina.
Oh
I did
yeah,
like
yeah. I
them
forgot. I'm
also
totally
getting
yes. They got Frank
trading
Ntilikina.
for
You're right.
Moses Brown. I like he's a young center. I think he has potential. They made some sneaky moves I kind of like. I think Frank maybe can start the point guard, maybe give some defense, help Luka in that area. I think Moses Brown can grow to be a top center in the league. Hopefully, I mean, I think he has potential. He played well in OKC, and I just feel like they made some decent moves. It wasn't anything crazy, but they, like I said, they haven't gotten better. They maybe would have sneaked out the first round. with Kawhi being hurt. I don't know how the matches may be, but
That
I just feel like
that's potentially
mm,
true. I don't think they're like if I look at down the list, I don't think they can beat the Lakers. They can't beat Golden State. They can't beat Denver.
yeah.
I'm not a big believer in Phoenix, so anybody can cook Phoenix basically.
Oh my-
Utah's we're gonna get to them soon.
yeah,
I'm not a big believer, but I think there's three teams that are legitimately better than them. The Clippers would be one if Kawhi's not there right now, as we said. So they might have a chance to squeeze into the second round based on the standings. You might have a point there. They got Luca. Luca is you can any matchup you can say majority of the time you can say he's the best player.
yeah,
Right, as you were saying.
yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah,
Okay, let's go to the number 4 Los Angeles Clippers.
I gave them a C plus,
What? Okay, okay.
and the only reason why I gave them a C plus is because they re-signed Kawhi. If they didn't re-sign Kawhi, they would have been in the same easy range as the 76ers. I feel like re-signing Kawhi was their biggest move. That's like what they did. They re-signed Reggie Jackson and Batum,
They got the
which I
band
like.
back together basically.
I mean, they did get Bledsoe. They traded Pat Bev, which I wasn't really a fan of, but it's a business at the end of the day. And they did lose Rondo, who I feel like never even wanted to be there really.
He did.
But
He took 15 million. He first went to Atlanta. He got traded to LA. He got Lou Williams out there, who was a
yeah,
big piece. Then his journey came right back to the Lakers. What a move by Rondo. Got the
yeah.
money and ruined. I kind of took a player out of the Clippers franchise. Just Rondo being Rondo. IQ at the highest.
But like I said, I don't think they got any better at all. The thing that's
I
saving
agree
them
on that.
in my rating is them getting Kawhi, and I guess resigning their guys for like a I guess a run back, but nothing really special here. So just C plus.
So I gave them an A minus, and I'm not here being biased
Wow,
as a
kind of
Kawhi
biased.
fan. I was gonna give them an A, but there was one move that I wasn't a fan of. So them re-signing Kawhi is basically the difference from them getting an A minus to an F. If Kawhi didn't re-sign,
Oh,
they get an
wow.
F. That's basically because if you don't have Kawhi, you can't win a championship. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like Paul George is phenomenal. He put up MVP numbers. They get to the first round, but without Kawhi, you need both to win a championship. You need both, right? You agree on that?
yeah, I do.
And then they did get the band back together. I like them getting Reggie Jackson back, Nick Batum, because they're really like with Kawhi healthy, they can get back to the conference finals. Play the Lakers. We can see the dream matchup that I've been waiting for a very long time. The reason I gave them minus is because I didn't like the Eric Bledsoe move. I mean, he struggled in the playoffs. You lose Pat Beverly, who's like that kind of glue guy, kind of that guy who brings that energy, that defensive
Yeah,
intensity. I didn't really like that move. Losing Rondo, I feel like Rondo was a good fit. I just feel like he just never got playing time, or maybe he wasn't a good fit. But I feel like
yeah,
those two guys are grit and grind kind of players, kind of like that Memphis culture, right? They get under your skin. That's what Pat Beverly. Rondo is one of the best, highest IQ basketball players. And he went back to the Lakers with already high IQ basketball players. So
yeah.
that's why I gave them an A minus because of the Bledsoe move. I'm not like, Eric Bledsoe is I'd say a better offensive player than Patrick Beverly, but the defensive, that's where it comes on the struggle, right? But
I agree.
we'll see what happens. I mean, what's their starting lineup? I think Ty Lue saying Reggie, Eric Bledsoe, Paul George, Marcus Morris, and Zubats, which is it's a good lineup. But it's interesting to see Eric Bledsoe or Reggie, one of them at the 2. That's pretty interesting. I'd like if they kept the complete team together, but they made a move. I think they made the Eric Bledsoe move because of the fact that Kawhi is injured and they need more offense. I think that's the only reason they made this move.
Yeah,
But Eric Bledsoe is still a phenomenal player. I think his regular season, he's always been great. It's about the playoffs. You got to show up when it matters most. Number 3, the Denver Nuggets.
I give them a B.
Fair.
I like the Michael Porter Jr. extension. I feel like he'll
Oh
develop
yeah,
into
he
a really
got the
solid player.
max. Do you think he got
Yeah,
overpaid, or you think
I
it's
mean you
worth
got to
it?
pay, but in this league, you have to pay for potential, and I feel like he can be he can probably win a scoring title someday.
Hopefully, he ain't the next Ben Simmons because they pay for
Yeah,
potential. They probably
hopefully.
regretting it right now.
Yeah,
Shout out Ben Simmons.
they did lose Paul Millsap and JaVale McGee. I mean, I feel like they did replace Millsap with getting Jeff Green from the Nets. I thought that was a big signing. We also did re-sign Will Barton and Jermichael Green, which I think are two solid role players. So I think they had an overall good offseason. They kept their budding star, and they tried to replace anyone that they lost. So I think it was pretty solid.
I think they also re-signed Aaron Gordon, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. And I did like that move as well.
Yeah.
So
So
B plus actually, not you said that.
you said okay. So I was gonna go up one above you, but you moved it up a little. So I'm on the same boat, B plus. I mean,
Yeah,
I like the Jeff Green sign. I really do. I think you saw what he did in Game 5 against the Bucks. Besides KD being dominant, Jeff Green was making a lot of shots. I think he had 20 plus in that Game 5 against the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round in the Eastern Conference semifinals. They got Jermichael Green is back. Austin Rivers was great for them. Will Barton is back. I know they lost JaVale McGee, but they have Bobo, a young up and coming star still.
Yeah,
I was gonna say about Michael Porter. I was just asking that question, but I don't believe he was overpaid. I understand it might look like that, but
yeah, I
he's
agree.
potential. He was injured. He was supposed to go high in the draft. People doubted him, and I think they're regretting it now because he's special.
Yeah,
And it makes sense to re-sign him. Aaron Gordon is back. The basically got the band together. This team potentially we're talking about who can give the Lakers a run for their money. I put Denver in that conversation. If they're healthy, Jamal, Joker, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., all these guys. I mean, Denver Nuggets look like a future champion team.
they do. Yeah,
Number two, the Phoenix Suns.
I gave them a C minus. Honestly, like I wasn't really fond of any move they made. Them re-signing CP3, who's 36, to a 4-year, $120 million deal till he's 40. I'm shocked they did that. I'm actually stunned. I'm really surprised.
Basically, kind of what Houston did in the beginning, and it seemed like they
Yeah,
regretted it. But yeah, I think it's because Chris Paul. Chris Paul had the lever. He got them to the. I wouldn't say he's completely the reason. It was
he was a
Devin
big
Booker,
part.
Chris Paul, the whole team. But Chris Paul was a big part of changing the culture
Yeah,
in
I
Phoenix,
agree.
and maybe he wanted a longer term deal. And for Chris Paul, this is a very great contract. So now we're gonna see
Yeah,
can Chris Paul play above his 40s, and I think he can. He's been proven
yeah.
this year. He's one of his most healthiest seasons. I know he
Hmm.
had that one instance in the Lakers series, but I'm not here to doubt Chris Paul. But it's definitely interesting.
I mean, I thought he'd take a more team friendly deal, to try to help them like get more,
He took a more him friendly deal.
Yeah, yeah. They also traded for Landry Shamet for the Nets, which I do like. He's a good shooter.
But Landry Shamet's been on the move, man.
Yeah,
He's a
a lot.
sniper.
Yeah,
He was on the Clippers. First he was in Philly. He got to the Clippers. Then he got to the Nets. Now he's in Phoenix.
and another big reason why I gave him a C minus is they're like debating now whether they should give Aiton the rookie max extension.
They should have.
And I agree they should have. He has superstar potential. He showed it, and he just needs a little bit more consistency. Could they lose him? I don't know, like because they're delaying this. I don't know if they sign him or not. So if they do sign him, it'll bump it up to a B. If not, I mean I don't really know. I feel like he's the core along with Devin Booker. Like those are the two that you had to like lock down. And I don't know. If I hope they resign him, I believe he deserves it. He showed it. But yeah, for right now, C minus.
So I gave them a B plus. I think it's because, you have made some great points, but
Yeah,
I think re-signing Chris Paul just made the most sense. Cameron Payne is a star on the rise. Frank Kaminsky re-signed, new arrivals, Landry Shamet. I really like the JaVale McGee pickup, a great backup. I
yeah,
think one thing we saw last year, the struggle, when Ayton was gone, right, in the playoffs, it was a struggle when he got
yeah,
into foul trouble. We saw the struggle. Now they have a backup, a guy who's three-time champion. Block shots. He makes it tough for you. So I like this backup. He's a great backup. I know they did lose Torrey Gregg. I believe he went to Indiana. I'm not too sure. Point guard Javon Carter. Not sure where he went, but
to the Nets, I believe.
to the Nets. Okay, thanks. So I gave them the B plus. I mean, I just think it was a good offseason. I think they got better. If there's a notion that they improved their team, I think they did. But they Chris Paul is still there. I really do like the JaVale McGee and Andrew Shaman addition. Alfred Payne,
Yeah.
he could be a third backup, so not bad. Because I mean, I'm assuming Cameron Payne would be the second backup. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, we were talking about Ayton. They have to resign him because I mean, if I'm you Clippers, I mean, I have no problem with Ayton coming through. But uh, I mean, he did that dunk that kind of that 2-0 lead where
Yeah,
he hit
crazy.
that crazy dunk. They got to resign him. This is a must. I believe he will be re-signed because I believe Chris Paul and Devin Booker will be like, we got to get this done. He's a rising star. I mean, yes, Chris Paul, you got him done, but for your future, Devin Booker and A&R could be more important than Chris Paul. That's your future. Chris Paul,
Yeah,
he's getting older. He's phenomenal, but you got to invest in the future. So you got to
yeah,
re-sign him. So I give him the B
I
plus.
agree.
The last team, the team that the Clippers cooked in the second round without Kawhi Leonard for 2 games, the Utah Jazz, number 1 seed.
I give them a B. Actually, B plus, A minus. Yeah, A minus, A minus. Because I like the moves. They did resign Mike Conley. They did lose Derek Favors.
I think Derek Favors got traded to OKC.
They signed Whiteside. They did get Rudy Gay from the Spurs, and they traded for Eric Pascal, which I think could be a nice. I think he become a star. He has that chemistry with Mitchell.
So I heard they're great friends.
So I do like that, and I feel like they're one of the better off seasons. Well, not better off seasons, but they're a solid off season. They improved for what they could do. I feel like they lived within their means, and they made some good small moves, which I think will help the team. So I give them I'll say B, locked with B.
So actually, I was about to give them a C, but after just re-looking at this, I'm changing it to an F.
What?
And you're gonna hear why. Okay,
Okay, good.
let's see. They got Rudy Gay. Not a big
Yeah.
upgrade. He's
Yeah,
great.
true.
Not a big. You got a backup center, Hassan Whiteside. Who was their backup center last year? Derek Favor. Is Hassan Whiteside a big upgrade?
Uh, no.
Is Eric Pascal a big upgrade?
I mean, I think he can contribute some solid minutes. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know if he'll be
I
upgraded
do
right
think
now,
I
but
think if they had to improve their bench, they have minor improvements on their bench. They lost Derek Favors. They lost Georgius Nang. I hope I said his name right. They re-signed Mike Conley. Why am I giving the F? Let's see. We got out the second round. You lost to the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard for the last 2 games.
yeah,
Did you get any better? Let's see. No, you did not get any better. We got to be talking about when is Donovan Mitchell leaving Utah,
yeah,
because they are not going to win a championship. Not
I
next year,
agree.
not the year after that, not the year after that. They're not good enough. I know
You
I'm going
make
on
me
this
really
rant because I'm
think.
a little excited because the Clippers beat them and they
Yeah,
had no Kawhi. We
yeah.
talking about Terrence Mann dunking on Rudy Gobert, ending his career. Okay, maybe not ending his
Bears done.
career. Maybe that's a little exact. Dropped 39 in a game 6. Terrence Mann, and he's a young aspiring talent, but you can't let Terrence Mann beat you.
Yeah,
They let that happen. I'm not here. Donovan Mitchell is a star, but I can understand this idea with small market might be a thing. You might have a point. They might have done the best that they could do. But if you're going to
yeah.
convince Donovan Mitchell you're going to win, they got to the second round last year. I don't see them getting out the first. That's my opinion. They get a
Wow.
they get an
First
F.
round out.
I don't think they're better than the Lakers. I don't think they're better than Golden State. I don't think they're better than Denver.
Wow.
I think Phoenix is up in grabs because I'm not a believer in Phoenix or Utah. If the Clippers are healthy,
Mm,
Utah has no shot. If they couldn't beat without Kawhi, what makes you think they're going to beat with Kawhi? Dallas could still give them a run for their money. Utah's in that 4th, 5th seat right now, in my opinion. I mean, if I look at every team, like let's say what other teams, Portland, it could be even, right? But maybe I'm a little too disrespectful right now with Utah, but I'm just a little happy that the Clippers beat them because
yeah.
everybody thought it was over. But when I'm giving my free agency grade, I'm giving on based on what is this team trying to do? They want to compete for a championship. Did they do this? Their moves
Mm,
have not done it. Same thing with Portland, right?
true. Yeah.
The only thing is Utah is younger, right? And I would say they got a better bench, right? But
Yeah.
I see them, if I look at all the teams, I see them in that 4th, 5th seat, like maybe second round, but I don't see them getting past that. So basically they would either get out in the first or get out in the second. So basically they make these moves and they get out in the same place. So it would
Okay.
be a failed season. But okay, maybe I went a little over. I exaggerate with the Donovan Mitchell being traded, but I mean he might get frustrated eventually with not
Yeah.
not being able to get to that championship. But I don't think last year was his best shot at it, and the West is getting difficult. I mean, they're a good team. They can always be competitive. I apologize for Utah fans or all the Utah Jazz players. I ain't trying to be disrespectful, but I had to say F. I just don't believe in them, and they got to prove me. I guess prove me wrong. I mean, I just give my
Yeah.
opinions. I mean, if Donovan Mitchell play me 1-on-1, he's gonna cook me. So I'm just giving my opinions, but I just don't think they really had a great offseason. For them, what their goal is? Goal is to win a championship. Do you see them winning a championship? I think we both
I don't.
agree that that's a no.
Yeah.
So an F on my end.
Yeah. I mean, considering what you said, I mean, probably have to drop my grade now. They are a championship aspiration team, so I'll probably give them a D, C minus now. Now that I've heard your point. And what you said on Donovan Mitchell, okay, he cookie, but do you think you can beat Gobert
Okay, I
do you think
can't
you
be
can?
any of these NBA players when I'm just a guy who gives my opinion. But
That's true.
I'm just giving basically, yes, I know if any NBA player I talk about them is because, I love watching basketball. So I just watch it how
Yeah.
I see it. But, if Rudy Gobert 1-on-1, I mean, he would end my career. He would dunk on me. He would dunk on me so bad I'd probably run away from the court. Donovan Mitchell saying all these guys would cook me. All these
Yeah.
NBA
Yeah.
players.
True.
It's just the idea that what's their goal? Win a championship. Are they
I
getting
agree.
closer
Yeah.
to that? No. It's just, and
Facts.
it's a harsh answer, but I think they got the talent, but they got to attract some big talent. But this is again this small market versus big market thing that we will definitely touch base on this in a future episode.
Yeah. So that concludes our sixth episode. And just for a short preview to our next episode, which I believe will be our biggest episode yet, we'll be talking about NBA predictions, which includes standings, playoffs, and potential season awards. So just stay tuned for that, and we'll keep you posted on when we update it.
And follow us at Straight Sports Podcast at Instagram.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Appreciate it.
All right. Peace.
Peace.